Welcome to another episode of Reading Between the Headlines. I'm Asaf Nisim. Little Broken Picard is here. Let's do the thing. Headline number 1. Staggering stat shows just how rare Man City's damaging defeat to Wolves was. This loss is quite predictably plunging the media into all sorts of hyperbolic chaos. Look at this headline, for God's sake. This staggering stat. The stat is that City haven't lost at the Etihad without scoring a goal since March 2016's 1-0 loss to Manchester United. What? Will these people ever learn that City are relentless? Will they ever learn that Pep is no joke, and while you can cite obscure stats all day long, this season is far from over? It's true that this isn't a great time for City to drop points. Liverpool, as I say, looked pretty indestructible, but when is it ever good to drop points in the league when you're a title contender? Or when you're any team for that matter? It's also true that Wolves haven't been in such great form, but we all know the quality in Wolverhampton, and we know that Nuno Espirito Santo has a very, very clear concept of the football he wants his team to play. They're organized, compact, and when feeling it, which is more often than not, they will give any side in the world trouble on the pitch. They've been dubbed giant killers time and time again. Clinching the Europa League last season wasn't dumb luck. They earned it. So maybe rather than citing that absurd stat, they should cite every time the Wolves have taken down the Lions of this league. Headline number 2. Paul Pogba is sulking because Manchester United can't compete for the title, claims Arsene Wenger. There's no question that Pogba wants to get out of Manchester United. He gave reporters the standard, "It could be time for a new challenge" statement just before the summer transfer window. There's also little doubt that such sentiments following United's refusal to let him go would probably lead to some affectation in Pogba's performance. And it's not even just the stepping out onto the pitch and facing each game like a professional that is in question. In a team when performance levels are high and things are moving along, maybe this sort of doesn't show as much. Maybe it doesn't affect results at all. But when things aren't going as well, and in those moments when the team needs a little bit of extra magic to secure 3 points or to avoid an upset of a loss, is Pogba going to have it? So many managers say time and time again that football is about emotions. Well, you can't say that and then say, well, the player is a complete professional. He will not let this affect his performance for the team. You don't get to have your cake and eat it too, and it's just not reality. Not to mention, imagine what training looks like for an individual like this. What effect does training with less alacrity have on performance? Maybe you become more injury prone due to poor conditioning. Maybe you don't manage your diet as well because of it. Maybe you don't skip that extra dinner at Nando's players seem to be so fond of. All of this seems to be in line with what Wenger told beIN Sports with regards to Pogba. He said, "First of all, I think Paul Pogba, since the start of the season, has never been completely fit injury-wise. He doesn't look completely confident physically, and he's the type of player who has a huge physical power. He needs to be perfectly fit physically. After that, when a player wants to leave and you stop him from leaving, you go through a process of rebuilding the relationship that the first thing that suffers is the performances. I personally think he behaves as well, like he knows that Man United at the moment is not the team to compete for the championship. And plus, the fact that he was stopped from going away it looks like the two together a bit tarnish his performances. Way back in August, Pogba tried to mitigate some of the tension between him, fans, and the club by talking to French radio station RMC. He said, "I always feel good when I play football. I do the things I like, plus it's my job. I give my all every time I go out on the pitch. I'm aware that things have been said, only time will tell. There's always that question mark. I'm at Manchester. I have fun with my teammates. I always want to win matches, and I always give my best when I'm on the pitch." So even when he's looking to smooth things out, he makes sure to let people know that there's a question mark, that he's still available for interest from other clubs. After the recent loss to Newcastle, he posted to Instagram in what seemed like yet another effort to show everyone that he is working tirelessly to get back to full fitness.
3, 2, 1, yes. 3, 2, 1, yes.
I'm going to read this. There are some spelling mistakes. There are some grammar mistakes, but I'm just going to read it as it is. They say hard work pay off. What about hard work in the heat? Let's see. Loving the view, though. Allah always in control. Anyone convinced? Yeah, me neither. In my opinion, United need to have the guts to just give in to a big money deal and cut Pogba loose. It's time. If I were Ole in this moment, I would genuinely rather have a guy like Mark Noble than Paul Pogba. Before we get to headline number 3, I'd like to take this moment to remind you all to please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. If not, we are no longer friends. Headline number 3. Levy won't sack Pochettino in a million years. Spurs boss has credit in the bank, says Sherwood. Honestly, I don't think this headline should surprise anybody. What's going on at Spurs right now has been nothing short of a horror show. This weekend's 3-0 defeat to Brighton after a massively deflating 7-2 home massacre to Bayern in the Champions League must further undermine what Spurs fans have probably been consoling themselves with, which is that this is just a bump in the road. It's just a minor setback, but this is no longer a minor setback. This is a team whose objective coming into this season was to find its way into becoming title contenders, Premier League or otherwise, but mostly the Premier League. And they're still yet to clinch the otherwise. 9th place after 8 matches, 13 points off the top, and 1 point from 2 matches in the Champions League is starting to look like more than just a bump in the road. The sad part of it all is that they really did seem like the one team out of the bunch that might make this season more than just a 2-horse race. Maybe defeat in the Champions League final was more destructive than if they had never made it that far. It's not like they were expected to oust Manchester City. Anyway, Christian Eriksen, although seemingly less of a whiny little bitch than Paul Pogba, maybe even more poisonous to Tottenham than Pogba is to United. Pogba never really became the man at United. Eriksen has been the engine at Tottenham for years. He may not be Kid Tottenham like Harry Kane, but in my opinion, he's been essentially just as vital to the Spurs' success in recent times, maybe even more. How do you think it affects the dressing room when the leader on the pitch decides he can no longer achieve what he wants at Tottenham? Again, it's in those difficult moments that your leaders are the most precious. The belief they bring, having experienced overcoming those challenges, having the confidence in their ability to turn things around, can be the impetus for overcoming any adversity. Liverpool are showing this right now. It almost feels like they're indestructible. As I say, even when things aren't going their way, they manage to turn it around. You don't get that without Virgil van Dijk or your John Terrys or just that player on the pitch that is so damn good that in and of itself convinces the team that they can make it happen. Despite all of this, the rapport or cachet that Pochettino has with this club feels inextinguishable. So again, it's no surprise that former Spurs boss Tim Sherwood would completely disregard any notion of the club sacking the gaffer. He said, "Daniel Levy is one of the most astute men in football. Do you think he in his right mind will sack Mauricio Pochettino? He has got so much credit in the bank with that football club. There is no way he will sack Mauricio Pochettino, not in a million years. Now, if Mauricio decides he has had enough and he can take the club no further and he wants to move on to pastures anew, then I still think he is mad to do that. I think he is the man for the job. I don't want him to leave. I love the guy. I love the football club. Everything is great at Tottenham. Even last night, we saw the first NFL game at the stadium, and it was fantastic. Everything is going brilliantly for Tottenham, but they have to get over this bump in the road. Every club has it. I still believe they will qualify for the Champions League knockout stages, and I still believe it is great money for them to finish in the top 4 this season. With Zidane having a horrible start to his second spell at Real, and you could say the same for Ole at United, you tend to start thinking that it's only a matter of time before they come knocking again. Then again, maybe Pochettino has missed his chance. Maybe to clubs that aren't Tottenham, his value is diminished. Personally, I don't see Poch going to another Premier League club. Something about him makes me feel like he wouldn't do that, like he's too loyal. And I still think he should stay at Tottenham. I think if anyone can hunker down and turn this thing around, it's him. And I imagine that Tottenham supporters feel exactly the same way. Headline number 4. David Moyes now odds-on favorite for return to Everton following flurry of bets, with Marco Silva favorite to be the next Premier League boss sacked after Toffees dropped into relegation zone. We've been covering Everton's spiral downward on the show for some time now. Despite having a full-on, star-studded top 6 looking roster and some fairly glittering moments of gameplay, results have been objectively awful. They've conceded 13 goals, which, relatively speaking, is not that much, but they've only scored 6 goals and just can't seem to grind out wins. Pretty pathetic considering the talent they have up front, starters and bench, so it's no surprise that Marco Silva's future is going to be in serious doubt. Odds-on favorite to take the job is beloved ex-Everton boss David Moyes, or as the Men in Blazers like to refer to him since he took the job at Real Sociedad, David Moyes. It makes sense. Despite having failed at and essentially being sacked by every single club he's managed since, the Everton-Moyes bond is a strong one, and for good reason. His work there saw him entrusted with the Manchester United job, and he deserved it. It's unfortunate how things played out, but you do wonder how much of it was down to his poor managerial skills. In 2018, Lucy Kellerman, writing for These Football Times online periodical, wrote about his stint at Real Sociedad. His failure had just as much to do with on-field developments as everything that went on outside of the stadium, including a clash of cultures and personalities with a man that, despite his repeated assertions to the contrary, did not bend enough. The language barrier was ever present throughout his tenure, and he clearly didn't make a big enough effort to get past it. He was widely ridiculed when he stated in one of his early press conferences that members of the B team have been training with me 1, 2, 3, 4 times, but I have not seen them play. What? Concerning his time spent elsewhere after Everton, we all know that he came into a club that was on its way down when he got to Sunderland. So there's that, although you could say the same for Sam Allardyce, and Big Sam pulled it off. Probably got him the England job, however short-lived that was. After being sacked by West Ham, joint chairman David Sullivan said, "When David and his team arrived, it was the wish of both parties that the focus be only on the 6 months until the end of the season, at which point a decision would be made with regards to the future. We feel that it is right to move in a different direction. We aim to appoint a high-caliber figure who we feel will lead the club into an exciting future for our loyal supporters within the next 10 days. That high-caliber figure statement definitely seemed to be a bit of a slight, but end of the day, as a fan, you do tend to see the next manager, Manuel Pellegrini, as on a higher level than David Moyes. But I think Everton fans will probably be happy to have their old boss back. As a sincere appreciator of nostalgia, I tend to feel quite positive about the prospect of having him back at Merseyside. Not sure if Moyes would be able to instill the same attacking flair that Marco Silva has sought and somewhat achieved at Everton, but these results are untenable, and a bit of the old school may be welcome at this point. Headline number 5. Sheffield United goalkeeper Dean Henderson receives his first England call-up after Aston Villa's Tom Heaton withdraws from Gareth Southgate's squad through injury. A lot of S's there. Gareth Southgate's squad through injury. Gareth Southgate's squad through injury. Heaton withdraws from Gareth Southgate's squad through injury. Gareth Southgate's squad through injury. Gareth Southgate's squad. Gareth Southgate's squad. It's hard to say. Gareth Southgate's. Gareth Southgate. It's hard to say Gareth Southgate. Gareth Southgate's squad. Gareth Southgate's squad through injury. Gareth Southgate. Gareth South. Withdraws from Gareth Southgate's squad through injury. It's impossible to say that name. Sheffield United goalkeeper Dean Henderson receives his first England call-up after Aston Villa's Tom Heaton withdraws from Gareth Southgate's squad through injury. I must admit that I really haven't put that much thought into Dean Henderson, although I have noticed that Sheffield United have started off this season really well and have shown that they're a dogged team ready and willing to face up any challenge. They fought back from being 2-0 down to my Blues at the end of August, and since have been putting in performance after performance with fairly decent results. I mean, considering their recent promotion, it's no surprise to me that manager Chris Wilder was given Championship Manager of the Month in February of this year. His passion, his tenacity, you can see it in every interview, and it's clearly been rubbing off on his team. They sit in 13th, tied on points with Manchester United and Brighton. Speaking of Manchester United, Henderson is a product of their academy and is actually on loan at Sheffield. While he's not been a household name as far as goalkeepers are concerned, those in the know are quite aware of his qualities. Certainly, Gareth Southgate is impressed enough to bring him into the senior setup. FIFA seems to think he's worthy of a whopping 84 overall rating. Although I think it's kind of silly in that David De Gea has been and still is one of the world's best goalkeepers. Given his subpar form as of late, even some United supporters have been calling for Henderson to take the #1 spot in the first team at Manchester United. Given De Gea's exceptionally lucrative new deal, I highly doubt that happens anytime soon. Regardless, Henderson is yet another testament to the importance and value of investing in one's own youth system. Obviously, Chelsea have been hogging the spotlight in that regard this season, and no doubt they deserve to be. But this United Academy product is flying under the radar no more. As far back as February, when Sheffield United were still in the Championship, the Daily Mail reported that huge clubs like Bayern Munich and Juventus were keeping tabs on the dude. ESPN reported that Arsenal and Tottenham were looking at him as well. Following the call-up, Henderson took to Twitter to express how much the recognition means to him. He tweeted, "This is what dreams are made of. It's a dream come true to receive my first England senior call-up." That does it for this episode of Reading Between the Headlines. Stick around to watch a few more of my favorite goals from the Prem this week. Another reminder to like, comment, share, subscribe to this channel, and as per usual, from myself and little tiny broken Picard. He's so tiny, so broken. We hope that you live football and prosper.